at 7 p.m. This meeting is being held on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We extend our gratitude to those who came before us and have called this ancestral land home for generations. We respect and honor the treaties, reaffirm our relationships with one another, and move forward together in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Call to order at 7 p.m. That the agenda for the May 25th, 2026 meeting be approved as amended or presented and attached to form part of the said minutes. Is there anything to add from administration today? Council, any changes? All right. All those in favor? That's carried. Declaration of conflict of interest.
14.5, because it is my place of employment. 14.6, because it is direct competition for my place of employment. And 18.2, because I own multiple rentals in Nipawin.
Thank you, Councillor Rahalik. Anybody else? Okay, if you missed it and it comes up, please let us know. That the minutes of the May 11th, 2026 regular meeting of council be approved as presented. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Do you see any errors or omissions? Everything looks good. All those in favor? Carried. That the RCMP report for the month of April 2026 be received and filed. Councillor Stewart. And tonight we have Corporal Tremblay.
Hello everyone. Hope you guys are all enjoying this nice heat finally that just decided to show up all of a sudden. Alright, so I'll just get right into it. In terms of the month of April 2026, Nipawin Speed and RCMP responded to a variety of different occurrences, and as always, charges are not typically laid in every instance, but we've had 1 sex-related offense, 27 assaults, 10 harassment, other threats, complaints, 29 break and enter and thefts, 9 impaired overs, 27 mischiefs and vandalisms, 22 breach of orders, 10 disturbing the peace, 3 frauds, and 128 others. Among those, we also had 223 traffic and safety acts, 18 motor vehicle collisions, 40 911 alarms, 5 mental health acts, 22 liquor acts, for a total of 574 calls for the month. Obviously, as you guys all know, April was still quite cold and snowy, so we actually had a pretty decent month of April. It wasn't overly crazy or busy. I'm expecting these numbers to kind of go up over the next few months now that summer's finally showed up. Seeing as this is a new fiscal year, I'll go over the policing priorities. Number 1 is going to be prolific offender checks. These have been most effective proactive crime reduction measures for Nipawin and actually right across the province. RCMP prioritize local offenders who are court-ordered conditions within the communities and check on these offenders at their place of residence on a regular basis. This is something that I've actually been working very closely with, actually just recently with probation. I've addressed a few of the concerns that we had at the detachment level in regards to some of the leniency that was happening from their end, where they were waiting months to breach somebody based on their records. If they weren't checking in regularly, if they were missing check-in appointments, they were giving them a lot of breaks, and then we would get breach reports 4 or 5 months down the road, and just to find out that they haven't been following the conditions for the last while. So I've instructed them that as soon as they breach, they can follow their mandated time that they're supposed to give them, a couple days to kind of check in and follow up, and after that immediately send us the breach reports and we will breach them. I do not care. I will send them right back in front of a judge and let them face the consequences. The next one will be police community relations and communication. In the past years, local RCMP have recognized tremendous success with their involvement in local school liaison programs and local community involvement. The Nipawin Speed and RCMP will also be once again encouraging the Police Observer program, commonly known as ride-alongs. These were successful. We did quite a few last year as well. Local officials and leadership, as well as potential RCMP recruits, will be encouraged to participate in order to get the first-hand experience of community policing challenges and opportunities. And I believe there were a few that went last year out of the group, and I think a few got to see some interesting stuff happening. So let's keep it going, and it's great for you guys to get to see kind of what we deal with on a regular basis. And if everybody saw what we saw on a daily basis, I think a lot of eyes would be opened. So if you guys can see it firsthand, then all the better. Other than that, that's basically what I have for stats. I don't think the month of April was too bad. As I said, it was cold and windy and miserable, so which also explains why there were so many motor vehicle collisions on this. Any questions? I open up to you guys. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any further comments.
Go ahead, Les.
Are you full staffed right now, or how are you looking for summer?
Actually, not too shabby. So I don't know if Kyle had mentioned to you guys that we're opening up Nipawin as a training hub. So we've been getting those recruits in. We actually just have one that's just starting up now again. We're expecting one more, I believe, to start up right away. We do have 2 experienced members coming to the community. And they're both from the Laurent detachment, so they're used to a very high, busy, violent environment. They're very good members. One of them is actually trying to become a police dog handler, and the other one is training it to be a major crimes unit handler. So they're both very, very good members. So we're expecting those 2 to come in. We do have, I believe, one member that's due out right away, so we'll be losing him. But in terms of numbers wise, we're actually not doing too bad.
Well, just a quick comment that I did participate in the police observer program last year, and I've reached out to the sergeant to do it again this year. I found it a very valuable experience, so
Yeah.
I look forward to doing it again.
For sure.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage, if you haven't, go on online, check it out. Anything else? All right, thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Have a great day, guys.
You as well. You as well. All right, well, if there's any other questions, you let us know. We can forward them on to the staff sergeant. Otherwise, all those in favor? Next up is our delegations. We've got the CSWB committee and Jan Bougen.
There's 2 of us. Okay. We have a presentation. Do you have it?
So, just in terms of time constraint, we do all have copies of it on our laptops.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
Okay,
you can
perfect.
follow along.
Okay. Okay, we'll just say what slide we're on then.
Okay,
All
first
right.
one. Okay, so good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Danielle Armstrong, and this is Jan Bougen. We're here representing the Nipawin Community Safety and Wellbeing, shortened for CSWB. Our committee brings together partners from across the community to proactively address safety, health, and social challenges in Nipawin. I myself am the executive director of the Nipawin Region Health Foundation, where I work with the board of directors to ensure our region is equipped with the resources to bring better healthcare closer to home. And Jan is the primary healthcare manager with Saskatchewan Health Authority, Northeast 5. Some of the areas she covers include mental health and addictions, early childhood programs, and dental programs in our region. And this region includes Arborfield, Carrot River, Smeaton, Nipawin, Cumberland House, and all the communities in between. This is also the same region that the Nipawin Region Health Foundation supports. So the next slide. What is community safety and well-being? Community safety and well-being is centered on preventing problems before they escalate into crisis. It goes beyond emergency responses and enforcement, addressing the social factors that affect safety, health, and quality of life. These factors include mental health, substance use, housing, and social connections. Next slide. Why CSWB matters in Nipawin. Like many communities, Nipawin faces complex and interconnected challenges. These issues are often impact emergency services, healthcare, and social systems. This committee helps reduce duplication, improve coordination, and ensure community resources are used more effectively. The impact of the work includes stronger collaboration between agencies, faster access to appropriate supports, reduced pressure on emergency services, improved safety and well-being for community. Most importantly, this committee ensures that people in Nipawin are not navigating challenges alone and they're supported in a connected system. Okay, so the planning process. The process began with engagement and partnership building, followed by data review and community input gathering. From there, priorities were identified and a practical action plan has been developed and is being implemented. To our next slide, which is our mission statement. I feel like so lost. Will you keep flipping with it?
I can.
Our mission is simple but powerful. We work together to ensure access to services, supports, and systems that focus on safety, inclusion, collaboration, and well-being for all Nipawin residents, neighbors, and visitors. And after all of that spiel, you're probably wondering, okay, who is actually part of this committee? So this committee depends on collaboration among various partners, including the town, emergency services, health and social services, the education sector, Indigenous organizations, and community groups. The main objective is to work together to achieve shared outcomes. Bringing representatives together at one table could break down barriers and enhance communication between agencies that often address the same individuals and issues. So, long story short, it's a committee that comes together, we discuss the issues, and we work together on that goal together instead of working individually to achieve the same thing. And there's just a quote. What is this one from? A quote. That's from our
plan. It's from the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. And you guys have seen this a few meetings ago, or quite a few meetings ago. Likely it was on your agenda to accept.
Yeah. So the Nipawin Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan establishes a framework and coordinated approach to working alongside system partners to continue to promote safety and well-being for all residents in the community and surrounding area. I'm going to pass it over to Jan.
All right, we can move on to the next slide. There we go. Okay, so in the development of the plan, there were 4 priority areas that came out from data and from the input from the partnering organizations that were around the table. And the priority areas are community connection, poverty, housing, and health. So there's some other kind of subsections of each of those, but those are kind of our 4 umbrella priority areas. And we can go on to the next slide. So town council already plays an important leadership role in supporting community safety and well-being in Nipawin. The current contributions specifically to our committee include providing space for our collaboration. We meet upstairs in the visitor center, so we're always appreciative of being given that space to meet. Championing community well-being, demonstrating leadership by recognizing community safety and well-being as shared priorities. Convening community partners. The town helps us bring together municipal health and community organizations to work collaboratively. Aligning municipal priorities, municipal initiatives, and planning contribute to broader community safety and well-being goals. And then really just supporting the ongoing dialogue and awareness, staying informed on the progress and community priorities through updates and engagement. And our plan is, as we move forward, to come back annually and continue to report to council so that you stay aware of the work that we're doing at this time. So our next steps on the slides, we have finalize our priorities and work plan, begin implementation, monitor and adjust, and report to council and community. We do have a work plan finalized. It's got about 5 or 6 different goals. All of them are focused on reducing the impact of poverty, community connections. Housing is another piece, and building awareness of some health programs and ensuring that the programming through health is reflective of the community needs. Um, the first piece around community connections is some of this work, bringing our information to council, but also building the connections between our organizations and making sure that we have one spot to go to connect and share all of our information and not duplicate services. For us, that's a really important thing because we don't want two people working twice as hard. So in closing, we recognize CSWB as a shared responsibility that no single organization can work alone to build the programs and make changes we need to see continue growing and prospering. The Nipawin Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee is about building a stronger, safer, and more connected community. And by working together, we're not just responding to problems, we're preventing them and improving the quality of life for everyone. So we thank you for your time. There are only two of us. I have about 10, or I guess 3, because Derek's here too. I have about 10 or 12 of us that regularly attend our meetings, but we'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much for the presentation. And I will turn it over to council if they have any questions or maybe some comments.
Or maybe where you'd like to see us, any issues in those priorities that you feel like you could focus on?
I would just like to add that this was approved before the majority of you guys were at the table. It was in September, so it was right before the election, just so that everybody's aware of when it got passed.
I have a copy of it if anyone's interested, but Derek obviously also has it and he can email it out.
I just have one question. What do you think the biggest gap, I guess, is it duplication of work or everyone trying to do the same thing, or?
Well, there's lots of little gaps along the way, and so if we catch those, sometimes we make a big difference. So one, for example, that came up at our last meeting was we've done some food mapping, so like where food is available, but then we had a conversation about when food is available and are we creating peaks and valleys of food security. So when you think about Christmas time, for example, there's Christmas hampers and there's often, some of the programs that I manage do Christmas bags and things like that. There's no reason ours can't be January bags instead of Christmas bags, And so we're looking at not just mapping where, but when. And so those are some of the things, and we'll look at that across all of our organizations so that we aren't all doing the same thing at the same time. Another example is some shared resources. We've got a little bit of work happening between a couple of our organizations around transportation, and not broad transportation, but we have a couple of organizations that already offer transportation, and how can we partner those together to have a more effective use of resources and provide more service to more people. And I mean, the focus for that one is for families with young children and kids going to school, but still there's an opportunity that there's going to be some people, potentially an opportunity that's going to be some people getting rides that couldn't before. So,
or for like a small example, Keisha Nickel is the new senior
community connector.
And they're looking into doing food programs. So then her and I talk because she needs a freezer, but like there's no money for a freezer. So like where could the foundation come in? That's something that we could potentially buy for them. So searching all around and not sure what to do. We just put it all together.
So we just bring everything to one table, and then there's also the community or the communication piece. Like when virtual access to addictions medicine came out, there was one place to take all of that information, so that we can fan out that information to everybody working in the community and things like that. So it's to me it's quite effective. Yeah. It's
been
hard
getting it rolling.
Yeah,
but we're getting there.
Yep, for sure. And it's those little wins, hey, that just keep you going and moving towards the bigger things.
Stronger together.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Just in regards to like the summary, it says, the process has helped Nipawin to move forward from reacting to issues to preventing them and to support a safer, healthier future for all residents. Does your guys' board also include the exchange program at the hospital? because I know that is a big concern with safety. And I do understand the concept of why it's ran. You know, we're trying to protect essentially vulnerable people from spreading stuff, but the concern now is rising where there's a lot of vulnerable people that are now at risk, including kids. Like when the fire chief has to be checking the ball diamonds before every day, and the coaches are checking them before the kids go in there, the playgrounds, the schools. So do you guys also collaborate with that program to try and figure out maybe where the lapse is of why there's so many unused needles being found in large bulk quantities that kids could get a hold of, and also why, like, trying to encourage more of the exchange in a positive way so there's less showing up in the community. Do you
Yeah,
guys also
for sure.
collaborate with them?
That's part of the program that I'm responsible for through mental health and addictions, and so I recognize that needs with council specifically a broader conversation, but it certainly is something that comes up at this table as well. There's a lot of work through both the province and SHA around addiction support that will hopefully start to provide different kinds of support or allow us to offer different kinds of support to individuals, like our virtual access to addictions medicine and things like that. Yeah, certainly that is something that we do talk about at our table as well. And it's something that I'd be willing to have a conversation with. Likely my director would join as well. We do, I can say, have a good exchange rate. Like it's always, we bring in more than is given out every year over year. So there is, like, our exchange rate is, it's in the positive realm. And then the rest, I mean, like I said, we could have a broader conversation that's maybe specific to that program.
Any other questions or comments? One comment that I'd just like to make, and this goes all the way back to our time at SUMA. There was a very distinct theme at SUMA around collaboration among the municipalities and getting our municipal partners all working together on programs, grants, different things like that. And it's not lost on me, or I think anybody at council, to have our community organizations also working on the collaboration side, bringing everybody together and sharing the load. It makes it a lot easier when you have a group of 8 or 9 people versus 9 groups all trying to do a single thing. So I appreciate the hard work you guys are doing.
We appreciate that. Thanks.
All right.
Get to
Thank
go
you,
save grandma now?
Yeah.
It might be feeding time.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay. That the financial reports for May 25th, 2026 be approved as presented. Councilor Vic. And with that, I will turn it over to David.
Yep, I really actually don't have any to highlight tonight that may catch people's attention.
Okay.
But we can try to answer some of the specific question. And there is a detailed report here, of course, that gives a little bit more detail but I can try to add more if I can. If I can't, I'll find it.
Do we have any questions or comments on the financial report today? Joyce?
I just have a comment. The Residence Inn is from the SUMA conference. I just wanted to say that. It almost sounded like you're paying for the house.
Yeah, that's just the name of the hotel.
It made me.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? That's carried. That the reports of senior administrative officials recorded as items 9.1 to 9.2.3 be received and filed. Councilor Blair. All those in favor? Carried. That the department monthly report be received and filed. And that we will turn over to Derek.
I don't really have a lot to add. Our tourism student started last couple weeks ago. There's a summary of what I took out of Food, Fuel, and Fertilizer Conference, which was very positive this year. Much a big change from last year to the tone around the table. Yeah, that's about all I got. There's not really much to add to what's written in there.
Thank you, Derek. Are there any questions or comments for Derek today?
I appreciate the thoroughness of that, your summary of that show, or trade show, so thank you for that. But just out of curiosity, the new radio ad that started to run, what radio is that on?
We have Nipawin, like the fishing report runs on Pattison CJVR, and we have one that we partnered with all of the businesses in town. So not all of them, I guess, whichever one signed up for it, like Richardson's, a few other ones, and you partner with them through Ralco in Saskatoon, and we get Nipawin on the end and each one, and it just helps the businesses with a little advertising support. So, and the fishing report, it's not really much fishing going on it right now, so it's more of just a Nipawin report.
Yeah.
I'll just comment. I'm looking forward to a bunch more videos coming out this year with your tourism team. It's always a highlight. I know that over the last few years has really reached out well beyond our community, and it's a fantastic program to see.
I'd say the bar set high there for your students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your worship, maybe I could.
Sure.
Council will notice there's a bit of information at the bottom about building permits and licensing. In the future, I've asked the administration to put together a more comprehensive report. So you'll see every meeting, you'll see, or every month, I'm sorry, you'll see a building permit report, which will outline past month, year to date, and comparison to last year, of course. Because, building permit just looking at a number or even a value doesn't mean much if you don't have a comparison. So, and you'll see what type of permits we're getting as well, whether it's renovation or it's a commercial build or it's whatever. So that plus business license, you'll see also monthly report plus a year to date and a comparison to last year. So that'll also come within this department's reports in the future. So you'll see on a monthly basis, a bit more detail.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay, the council hereby approves changing the date of the meeting to the next council meeting to Tuesday, June 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Councilor Fast. And do you want to speak to this one quickly, David?
Yeah, I think everybody knows that the mayor, myself, and the deputy mayor will be going to FCM on the 3rd of June to the 8th of June in Edmonton. We're all heading down the highway, or sharing a new vehicle. Cost. And so unfortunately, we just won't be back in time to have a meeting. So we're suggesting that the meeting be held on the next night, the 9th of June. People can fit that into their schedule. Hopefully they can.
Any concerns around the council table there? Okay, this one's easy then. All those in favor? That's carried. Get your hand ready, John.
Oh,
That council hereby authorizes administration to engage Stubbs Fireworks Displays to provide a fireworks display on Friday, July 10th, 2026, as part of the kickoff to the Nipawin Street Fair and Nipawin Exhibition Fair, with a budget not exceeding $20,000 plus GST, as recommended by the GM of Leisure Services. Councillor Vic.
I tried to be.
Yeah.
I was already looking that way. Chelsea.
Thank you. So last year we held fireworks and they were offered through or provided through Stubbs Fireworks Display. We've held them, or the last several times we've had fireworks, it's been through Stubbs and he's done a fantastic job. The display last year was excellent and I think everybody here saw it. We are switching up the street fair a little bit this year based on feedback we received last year. We've always held the street fair portion on the Sunday. We've decided to move it to the Saturday so that we can have the street fair and cabaret Saturday night. So the fireworks will kick it off on Friday night. The street fair will be Saturday with the bounce castles and everything downtown with the food trucks and cabaret. And then Sunday will remain the parade. So we've extended it again this year, but not so much in the community like last year's 100th birthday. But so yes, we're just seeking council's approval. Stubbs Fireworks would like to order the fireworks right away because there's a delay on that product right now.
Okay. I'll just add, this was obviously a budgeted item as well. So this wasn't budgeted. So are there any questions or comments? Les?
Do you have a location?
Yes, sorry, Walleye Park again.
Walleye Park.
Yeah, everything will stay the same. Last year we actually had a couple food trucks come out. I anticipate we'll have that again this year. And fire department will.
I'll make sure you have good weather.
Yeah, thank you. Much
And we've
appreciated.
got our order in for good weather that day?
We do.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be fair weather, not windy at all.
Any last questions or comments for Chelsea? All right, all those in favor? That's carried. Everybody's second favorite topic after bylaws is property taxes. The council hereby approves the preparation of taxation bylaws with the following tax tools for the year 2026. Mill rate, 8.04. Mill rates factors as follows: agricultural other land and improvements, 1. Residential land and improvements, 0.92. Commercial and industrial land and improvements, 2.99. Base tax per property as follows: residential land, $1,000. Residential improvements, $350. Commercial land, $1,600. Agricultural, $1,800. All properties, leisure services, base tax, $100. Councillor Stewart. And I will turn it over to David.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening again, Council. Before I get into talking about mill rates and mill rate factors, etc., I just wanted to give you an idea where the process is at the current time. You're aware on May 8th, we opened the roll, meaning we laid the roll out for public inspection. The roll, of course, is provided by SAMA as our consultant. If you want to go one step earlier than that, SAMA every year provides our assessment numbers. We reconcile with SAMA before we lay the roll open, and then we lay the roll open for the public inspection. This year was May 8th, and as I mentioned, it closes June 8th after 30 days. And the whole idea is that those that have properties that their assessment changes, up or down, can come into City Hall and discuss them. And if they feel that it's incorrect for whatever reason, they can appeal their assessment. And that's the purpose of that 30-day notice, is to allow people that have properties that have changed. But I should say that anybody, in fact, in the community can appeal within that period. It's not just those that have changes. Anybody who feels that their property assessment is incorrect can appeal. So that's what's going on currently. Of course, after that, we do move into the taxation side, after we lay open the assessment for 30 days. Hence what this paper is trying to discuss here tonight. As mentioned, the worship laid out the resolution which talks about my proposed tax tools. When we talk about tax tools, we talk about what's council's discretion to divide up the need in the community. If you remember back in late January, you approved the budget for this year, and that budget had a number in it that you wanted to raise X amount of taxation, including a new tax for leisure services. And the total of that amount was $5.7 million, which is at the bottom of the memo here. So ultimately, this is what this exercise is about now. Is we know what the assessment is on the taxable assessment, and I should say what that means, because there is assessment in the town that's not taxable, like for example, our own buildings are not taxable, schools are not taxable, churches are not taxable, so there's a number of properties that are exempt from taxation, so we take them out of the equation, and what's left is taxable assessment. We'll get into that in a few minutes here. However, the whole exercise is in your budget, $5.7 million, and we need now to figure out a way to divide up the tax bill amongst all the residents in the town. There's a bit of reference in here to legislation, policies, bylaws, of course. The Municipalities Act is the legislation that the town of Nipawin has to is governed by and has to follow. And of course, in there it states clearly the steps of doing all this process. There's bylaw 2002 and 2003 of last year, which relates to this very process, and those will be repealed when we get to the bylaws this year. And of course, resolution 2026-37, which is approval of your budget this year. So going to page 2, that's pretty much page 1 on your screen. Page 2, historically, the town of Nipawin utilizes 2 tax tools, one being mill rate factors and one being base tax. This is outside of the ad valorem assessment-based taxation system, whereby all properties are assessed and they're applied a mill rate and everybody pays a tax. The town also has mill rate factors, which changes some of the taxation amongst the classes, from, for example, residential to commercial, commercial to industrial, sorry, not to industrial, but to agricultural. That's what mill rate factors does, and then there's some specific base taxes, like we talked about, base taxes that are in place already, have been here historically for years. And council just approved a new one for leisure services for some specific purposes within the leisure services department. And that was $100 per property. So those are the tax tools. Knowing that, then I step through the process a little further here in this document. We look first of all taxable assessment. I mentioned taxable assessment. The first table you'll see there, I'm comparing last year's taxable assessment to this year's, because I think council needs to understand what's changed year to year inside the community. This is not a revaluation year. Last year was, so you'll see a lot more change in assessment in a revaluation year than you will in between years. But we did have a little bit of modest growth. Obviously, commercial went up the most. Residential went down. And you're probably going to say, well, how would that happen, Dave? How did it go down? Well, there was, you'll see, I'm going to show you a little bit more detail when we get into the spreadsheet at the end here. But overall, there's just a modest amount of assessment growth year to year in this chart. Then we move down to the forecasted taxation per class. And again, this is coming from the spreadsheet at the back. I'm going to show you that in a minute here, but generally speaking, our projected amount of tax, I mentioned 5.7 is in your budget this year. Last year, we raised about 5.3 million. So we have to, of course, raise the taxation. And we look at the overall projected tax collected increase. It'll be about 6.85%, which Agriculture providing 7.26 of an increase from last year on their level of taxation. Residential increasing 6.09, and commercial industrial 8.73. I'll get into those numbers in a minute as well. But overall, it's about a 6.85% movement between last year's collected taxes and our projected tax collection of 5.7 this year. I'll come back to those numbers a little bit more. Hopefully they'll make a little bit more sense in a minute. Moving to page 3, effective tax rate ratio. This is a little bit boring stuff, but it's required because it's legislation. Every municipality is restricted on how they tax the different classes in the municipality, so that one class is not paying extraordinarily higher than some other class. So that's what this is. In 2023, the Saskatchewan government put in a ratio of 7:1. That means that the effective tax rate of one class, or the lowest class, effective tax cannot be 7 times more the highest. Okay? So what that means is we take each class, look at the taxation that we're projecting in each class, you come up to basically a percent, and that is your effective tax rate per class. And then we take the lowest taxation rate and we divide it into the highest taxation rate, and we make sure we're within 7. So that means that one class is not taxed extraordinarily beyond a rate of 1 to 7. Between your lowest effective tax rate and your highest in the community. And we only have 3 classes: ag, res, and commercial industrial. So it's just a fairness factor. Provincial government doesn't want us charging extraordinary to one class versus another class. And the town of Nipawin is at 1.71 on the projected tax tools and how we're dividing the tax bill between the classes. So we're well within that limit. So that's what that is telling you. The short form is making sure that we're compliant. And the last part on this, before I get into the spreadsheet, is just a bit of time frame. Tonight we're just talking about the mill rates, and mill rate and the tax tools of mill rate factor and base taxes. And if you want me to proceed after tonight, you don't have any questions or concerns, then in the next meeting, which we discussed would be June 9th, not June 8th now, we'll actually bring bylaws, which will cement these numbers for the year 2026. And if that happens in June 9th, just looking forward again, would be basically, if you approve that, of course, those bylaws on June 9th, we would be preparing the tax invoices before the end of June. And our usual penalty starts beginning of August. So people would have a good month to be able to make those payments. I think that's been historically the time frame. Yeah. So we're pretty close, I think, Councillor Stewart. That's that time frame as the past.
Absolutely. That's it.
Okay, so now I'm going to just quickly walk you through this spreadsheet. Hopefully it's not too small on your screen, because there's a lot of valuable information in here as well about how we come up to this sort of number of getting 5.7 million in this year's tax collection. Going from the left side is the 2025 actuals. You'll see, starting with the left column, which is all the number of properties we have in the town that are taxable. I keep saying taxable because we have probably 50 to 75 more properties that are excluded here. But we have about 2,062 properties in the town, 5 in agricultural, about 1,811 in residential, and 246 in commercial. That all adds up to 2,062 properties that are paying taxable. So that's the first column. The next is the assessment, as we said. Now this is last year's numbers, just a little bit more detail. And then we have last year's mill rate of 7.875, 7.6. Sorry, I took my glasses off. 7.675 was last year's mill rate. Last year's mill rate factors are the same I'm projecting for this year. So it's, as you can see there, 1 in ag, 0.92 residential, 2.99 commercial industrial. Base taxes I'm proposing to keep the same as they were last year. And so you can see the left-hand part of this spreadsheet is really all about how we come up to last year's taxation. And then we compare it to how I'm going to look at taxation this year on the right-hand side. Keeping properties the same, because there's very little difference in the number of properties. Assessment changed, as I mentioned. And you can see in here what's changed in residential. Remember I mentioned residential went from 218 million taxable assessments to 216 million? Can you see those numbers? Well, it's mostly in multifamily if you look up above. And I've asked Sam about this, about why there was a downward revision in those assessments, and they assured me that it's not a mistake. Because number one, I wanted to make sure it was a mistake. They assured me it wasn't. It was an adjustment they had to make. Unfortunately, it is a correct number. And so that's really the story inside assessment. Like I said, otherwise we would have a nice increase, but it's actually pretty flat assessment. What I'm proposing for mill rate this year is 8.04, like was mentioned in the paper. And all the other tax tools would remain the same. That means mill rate factors stay the same, base taxes stay the same for everybody. And there's only a $100 additional charge per property. So that's the 2,062 properties, raising $100 each, which would get us just over 200,000 of revenue. And the budget had 200,000 for this new tax that's going to be used by the Parks and Rec Department, sorry, Leisure Services Department. So that is just a straight calculation of then the taxes that we forecast, and then we subtract the discount that the town gives on early payment, and it comes up to approximately the 5.7 million. And I'll just go back to the numbers on the right-hand side. What these are all about is I want to show council how much of the increased to the 5.7 versus 5.3 is coming from the rate increase, and how much is coming from assessment increase. And then we do a total. Because as you know, the assessment does shift year to year, and that gives us more revenue or less revenue. So I broke out what the percentages are just with a rate increase, just what the assessment is bringing, and then the total increase that we would see by class if we follow these tax tools. So you'll see that just for the rate itself, if we just put in that 8.04 mill rate versus 7.65, plus the $100 for the Leisure Services Department, we get 5.3% more from ag, we get 6.4 more from res, we get 5.18 from commercial and industrial. And that relates back to the chart I had earlier in the paper, because I'm sorry, that's not. I'm going to talk about that in a second. I'm wrong. Sorry, we're going to keep moving. So that's just the rate increase. I'll talk to this in a second because I got another document to show you. So that's just rate increase. And then if we look at assessment increase, let's say all the rates stayed the same, but just assessments shifted. We had about another 1.94% increase in ag, a slight decrease in residential because of that downward assessment, and 3.55 extra assessment in commercial industrial. That's adding to this besides the rate increase. And that gets us the total increase of 7.26, 6.09, 8.73 per class, overall 6.85. And that's what I was referring to in my chart. So that's kind of how I foresee that we're able to raise that 5.7. Again, just summarizing, just the mill rate and the $100 changing. Finally, I just wanted to show you this last impact because, you know, all the places that I've worked, council likes to get an idea of what's the impact to the average house and the average commercial business. First of all, we calculate what is the average taxable assessment in the town of Nipawin, and it's $118,000, and that's just basically the total residential assessment divided by the number of properties. So that includes bare land, improvements, everything. So that average is not necessarily what a house is in Nipawin. It includes both land and improvements. So 118,000 is the average value of property here. And again, looking at last year's taxes, this is just municipal taxes. We don't talk about education property taxes. Last year, that would have been $2,183, and this year would be $2,323, with the mill rate changing and $100 for leisure services. So that's the 6.4%. You'll see that's in the spreadsheet just before, because it's all rate driven. This is just rate driven. Because assessment is more property, this is per property now. We're only talking about rate and how it would affect the average properties, which is the exact number that I have in the previous spreadsheet. Commercial, the average commercial taxable assessment in Nipawin is $177,000, and again, there's a wide group here. There's people that have $1 million of assessment. There's people with 100,000, but it's 177 because it includes land as well as improvements. And again, looking at last year's taxes would have been $5,676 for 177,000 of assessment in commercial, and this year will be $5,969, a 5.18% just on the rates. So that's and of course, some bigger properties would be a little different, smaller properties would be a little different, but that's the average. So and that ties back to my calculation of just the rates moving, and basically is double checking that the average property is right on the edge. It's right on the same increase that we project for everybody. So with that, Your Worship, I don't know if I have anything else to add. Hopefully, I tried to make it as understandable as possible, but happy to answer any questions. And of course, this can be done 100 different ways, but this is just my humble opinion about what I think is the way forward. Council.
Okay. I'll start with Jeff. Okay. I'm actually going to speak in favor of the work that you put all of this. There you go, right? Went back and looked at 2019, 2020, right? So one of the tools we used back in those days was as a percent, how much tax are we asking from commercial? That's one we looked at a lot, right? And at those times it was 27.6% or so on average, right? So what we have here is actually 26.4. So most of commercial in this is being driven by the assessed value increase, right? But still, it's well within a reasonable level. That's what I was worried about. And if we look at the $366,000 we're raising, 206,000 of that is basically a base tax for rec. So it's only 160,000 that's actually on the mill rate. So we will have an effect on some of those higher houses, but I don't think it's substantial. The biggest thing here is that the money, the $100 rec fee that's going to 200,000, that we decided that was necessary to maintain our pool, rink, and evergreen. Yes. Right.
Good memory.
Yeah. I could speak a lot of the other good things I saw on this, but that's what I saw. And yeah, thank you.
If I could just add something to what Councillor Stewart said, I didn't put it in here, but I did calculate it. It's the ratio of commercial versus residential. It's a hot topic in a lot of communities. Like, how much is your commercial paying if it has the same assessment to a residential property? And here it's about 2 to 1. And it's a very reasonable ratio. A lot of communities are in that 2 to 3 range. There's some that are much higher, even a big city like Calgary, for example, I think is almost, which is 5 now, where they're taxing their commercial almost 5 times as much as the residential for the same amount of assessment. Let's say a small commercial shop is the same assessment as a big home in Calgary, right? But the commercial person is paying about 4 to 5 times more. So here in Nipawin, paying 2 to 1 is very reasonable. I think, and there's a lot of reasons for that. There's tax deductions that businesses get from their property tax. There's a lot of reasons that this makes sense that commercial can take a little bit of a higher burden in communities, and I think the ratio is very reasonable.
Yeah, that ratio of 7 to 1 is actually looking at residential to commercial. 1.71.
Yeah, it just doesn't say anything. It just says your lowest and your highest can't be outside that bounds, right? Yeah. But we're well within that because residential is 1.94% taxed, and commercial's 3.32, so it's 1.7.
And those condos that were over assessed, and they were over assessed, because what they were doing is they were looking at what a condo back before last big look at this was in the morning. They were looking at what it was in all the big cities, but the cities have tools. We can only tax 3 different entities: commercial, residential, and agriculture. Whereas in the cities, you can actually have subcategories and then different bill factors for all of them. So it makes that ratio makes a lot more sense for the cities. But what we were getting was extremely high taxation in our condos. So that was adjusted last time, and that's probably the entire reason that went down.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation.
There was a lot of angry people talking to me and they paid those higher taxes for years, mind you, and it was corrected. And they still had to pay the higher taxes, but they're going back and getting this.
I like your format. I quite enjoyed seeing that, and that made sense. And I have nothing to say about the rates that you chose. I think they're fair. The only question I would have, bylaws that'll be coming in June 9, is there going to be a specific bylaw for the $100 funding?
There will be a new bylaw for that. I'm not sure, I'd probably be putting in a base tax bylaw. Another base tax reading, that base tax bylaw.
And that it would stipulate that it's being used for leisure services.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Specifically those 3 buildings.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
specific.
Yep.
Not
We
perfect.
discussed that.
Yeah.
Yep, no, I can assure you that the money will be spent where you intended it to be.
Any other questions or comments from council? You know, there's a lot of information to swallow here. This is the one thing people will come to ask us questions on here very soon. So. I myself, I agree with Jeff and Joyce. I do like the way it looks. I like actually seeing the breakout of the rate increase and the assessment increase. So, you know, we're only our side of the taxes, you know, 5% on commercial. It's not 8%. We're increasing taxes 5%. The assessment is eating up the rest of it.
But it's gaining us because it's more. We're gaining more when the assessment goes up. We can tax a little less because we're getting more without taxing.
Business side, it's really important. I had this brought to my attention today with another conversation. So I kind of opened my eyes and I went back. You go, just because we're getting, you know, only 0.16% growth, that's not necessarily a good measurement of growth, right? So I had that thought over summer, and then I went back and Joyce reminded me of the time when we went up 49% in the commercial back in 2016. It was something ridiculous like that. And then back in 2019, we actually went down 27%. So like that's going to fluctuate a lot. So it's really not a good measurement of how communities doing in terms of growth. A lot of people can see that, like, oh, we're not growing. Right? The reality is it's not a good. Thanks to the person who brought that up to me.
Yeah, sometimes it's, you know, we have a third party doing the assessment for us, and sometimes these things, well, for the most part, these things are out of our control. You know, they're a very technical organization, and we have to rely on their expertise. And, you know, when we're talking about multifamily, we're talking about commercial, we're talking about income approach versus modified cost. It's very complicated, right? And do they have enough in their models for the income approach to value properties like apartments and office buildings or small office buildings, but not big office buildings. But, so there's a lot of technical information that goes into the work that SAMA does. And then of course, they look at sales that go on in the community as well. And if there's not enough sales here, then they're using sales for all over the province for similar size communities. And yeah, there's a lot of these formulas to try to come up with assessment and value. And sometimes you'll see some movement. But usually I like to think that the movement is not too extreme, but
One extreme actually happened because we didn't use SAMA. We were one of the 4 last communities to not use SAMA way back in 2016, I think.
His
was nuts.
values would have shifted.
Shifted a lot
A
of
lot,
tax.
yeah. That's right. I went through the same thing in the city of North York. I also had one of the last private assessors in Saskatchewan switched over to Salmon. Yeah, there was a lot to explain to everybody. What's going on here? So yeah, different agency and, you know, a different way of looking at things. Because there's a lot of different ways you can value property. And sometimes there's a little bit of opinion in there too. It's not just technical.
Well, I think the condo, for instance, when they first did it, we used the income approach, and then the next time we used the cost approach, which was more realistic.
These are part of the learning process.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting. So now you'll look forward to this discussion next year. So what's it gonna look like next year, Dave? Well, we'll wait and
Next
see.
year's problem.
That's next year.
Any other questions or comments? I know we've heard from three of us who have been here a little bit longer.
Sorry, could I just add one other thing? Sure. I forgot to mention also, these numbers include also our economic abatements that we. So this is net of all that. So there's not more money coming off this as well. This is net of your abatements. Because you know you approve tax relief for new builds and whatnot, and they're usually multi-year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and those are already included because we've actually taken them out of the tax assessment, exempted them along with the schools, along with the churches and the municipality. So also, there's no extra money coming out beyond discount. That's why the discount's listed there.
And the education mill rate stayed the same this year. didn't it?
Yes, education mill rate will not go up, so there won't be an increase on that portion of the bill.
Yeah.
So it'll just be this will be the increase, but then if you look at the total bill, so some people don't really distinguish, they just see the total bill. You know, if ours is 6%, 7%, and you blend it with 0 increase on the education side, it might end up being 3 or 4. Because it's about 40% of the bill is education. So I just didn't put that calculation in because I didn't want to maybe confuse the public too much about, because that's out of our control, but you're absolutely right, Councillor Watts, that that portion of the bill is not going up this year. So that's some good news.
I just want to comment, like the numbers, a lot of people might not see what we're seeing, but the average then for residential based on this is going up approximately $150 for the year. And the average for commercial is going up approximately $300, which in the broad spectrum of thing is actually fairly reasonable. And considering 100 of that is that leisure base, which we had discussed as a whole, that we felt that everybody equally to contribute to community service stuff that everybody has access to, whether your house was assessed at $500,000 or $100,000. A lot of times the assessed value, you pay more taxes because your house is worth more. We wanted this to specifically go to something and everybody contribute equally and they all know where that money is going. So I think that's also important that people see that money, we're allotting it for a specific reason and everybody's contributing equally, which keeps it a little bit more of a level playing field in that regard as well.
Any other?
Yeah, I'll just defer to Councillor Watts, Councillor Stewart, with their experience. Being the first time through this. I'm good with it. Yeah, it's good.
No further comments.
I think everybody's done a pretty good job adding in here, and it is again what we were aiming for. We needed to raise extra money this year. Obviously, everything's costing more, and we're doing a few more things with our money, and I think we're able to do that at a pretty fair value for everybody. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor? That's carried. The communications recorded as items 12.1 to 12.3 be received and filed. All those in favor? That council hereby authorizes Mayor Marlon Zacharias to attend the Suncrest College graduation ceremony being held in Melfort, Saskatchewan on Thursday, May 28th, 2026, with mileage and out-of-pocket expenses reimbursed in accordance with current policy. Councillor Watts. Any questions or comments here? Hopefully next year we'll host it here.
Oh, it's been here for a long time.
It's been a while. I did mention it the last time I was in. So we'll see. All right, all those in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on to new business. The regular meeting of council recessed to a public hearing to hear submissions in support of or in opposition to discretionary use permit application number 26-06, multi-unit dwelling, and to hear submissions in support of or in opposition to discretionary use permit application 26-07, secondary suite at 8:06 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay. As presiding officer, I hereby declare the public hearing open. This public hearing is established under the authority of Section 24 of the Town of Nipawin Council Procedures Bylaw, number 1170/23. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear submissions in support of or against discretionary use application number 26-06 for a multi-unit dwelling, and to hear submissions in support of or against discretionary use application number 26-07 for a secondary suite. So we will start with discretionary use application 26-06, the multi-unit dwelling. And I would ask the Chief Administrative Officer to introduce the matter under consideration.
Your worship, I'll defer this to the planner.
Thank you. So this is a church building that has not been utilized for a while, and the developer is interested in turning it into up to 7 units. The zoning bylaw requires 11 parking spaces. The applicant is proposing 13, all on site via the alley and 6th Street West. It appears to be a decent use for the property, just going through zoning, and it's meeting all the requirements of that nature. But there is a little bit of opposition according to the letters that we got. But that's the matter, and then we can hear the rest of it.
Does council require any other information from administration? Okay. So I'll maybe start by just reviewing. I'm not going to read them out here, but we can all see that there are 3 letters that came in. 1 letter in favor of this discretionary use. And first letter check. These are on and yeah, 2 letters related to the multi-unit dwelling. So there's 2 in opposition there. Everybody had a chance to read those and review them? Okay. All right, so we'll start with the public ask. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter.
Can I speak to both?
Yes,
Can I ask some questions? Is now the time?
this is the time.
Okay.
And I'll just get you to start by identifying who.
Okay, I'm Pat Branscombe, I'm the owner operator of Generations Event Center adjacent to the church with sharing the alley. And we've been there, I think, 13 years now.
So we've seen a lot of stuff go on in that church, and we're excited to see development there and to see that building turned into something beautiful like it once was in the past. However, there's concern amongst the chatter in my neighborhood regarding the amount of units suggested being built in there. And earlier in the summer or in the fall, it was suggested that there might be a construction project with 4 units, 3 to 4 units. I feel like I was comfortable with that. I'm a little concerned with the 7 units, the 13 parking spaces, and the activity that will take place on that block in that area. So I guess with reading the letters that were submitted to you as well, I feel like that was a common theme, that we're not opposed to it, just would like it scaled back a bit. So also would be concerned with the speed zone on that street. People drive extremely fast, and if we had another pile of cars pulling, turning, whatever, I'd like to see something maybe with a construction project going ahead that would help with the speed limit on that street, as well as the lighting. It's very dark. Everybody knows my lot. There's transient traffic sleeping there in my sheds, going through to the Kingfisher. Lots of activity in that area, not a lot of lighting. So I would like to suggest that if this was to go ahead, that there be attention paid to more lighting in that area and just keeping it safer for everyone. And but I'm not opposed to having something go on there. I just would like some more thought put into how it would be controlled in that space. There's low rentals on that street. There's the Handiworks, 2 buildings on that street with the gymnastics at the end of that street. And just off of the highway, it's a little crazy too, coming and going there. So just concerned about the logistics of all of that. And I think I speak on behalf of a lot of my neighbors in that area. For me, it's like, well, I don't have to fight wildfire parking anymore, taking my space. We can move on to tenants taking my parking space. We are fairly busy, quite busy in our center. So there will be a little bit of jockeying for parking in that area. So just kind of wondered how that would be handled if there was 7 units with 13 parking spaces and everybody in that unit had a guest. Where would those people all park if I was having a wedding or whatever? So just logistics, wondering how that has been handled or thought out. So I think that's all. If there's any answers to any of those questions at this time, or how, and if the developer, it says in your proposal that he's a decent developer, he would obviously have to be a skilled developer to take that building and turn it into apartments, because I mean, in that building it's going to take some skill and thought to make that happen. So yeah, just would hope that it's a trusted developer, trusted rental, that he would vet his tenants very well, and that there would be no extra transients, commotion, drama in that neck of the woods. I guess that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe Jeff, would you be able to address maybe a couple of those things? The lighting one hadn't crossed my mind. It's a interesting thing that we might have to look at. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't looked at the lighting at that stretch of the street, that's for sure. The parking, so yeah, with the 7 units, the town requires 1.5 spaces a unit. So that's where the 11 comes from. And he is providing a little more parking. I guess if there was more parking demand than that, they would be street parking, unfortunately. There just isn't anywhere else really to put them, I guess, in that sense. It's something that I guess we would have to monitor, in the sense that in the future, should we be requiring even higher parking levels for multi-units, or is this a sufficient amount of parking and there's, the odd stressor, but maybe not too much? That's really about all I can add for that.
So I would ask if there is anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. And a third and final time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against this matter. A second time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against the matter. And a third and final time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against this matter. Okay, moving on to discretionary use application number 26-07, secondary suite. I would ask the Chief Administrative Officer to introduce the matter under consideration.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll also defer this to the town planner.
Thank you. This is a single attached dwelling that the owner is hoping to put a secondary suite upstairs in the house. The house is meeting the requirements of the size for the zoning bylaw. They're providing one additional parking space for the unit. The unit will have its own separate entrance and exit out the back of the house. It's located in a residential area, like there's lots of other residences there, and immediately to the west is a vacant commercial property. It's kind of just the layout of the area.
And does council require any further information from administration at this time? Okay. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. A second time, I will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the matter. A third and final time, I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this matter. I would ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against this matter. The second time I'll ask, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this matter? A third and final time, I'll ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak against the matter. Okay, there's no one else to speak. I now declare the public hearing closed at 8:17 p.m. That the public hearing be adjourned and the regular meeting of council resumed at 8:18 p.m. Councilor Blair. All those in favor? That council hereby approves the discretionary use application 26-06 for a multi-unit dwelling on lot 2-3, block 22, plan CP 3638 as recommended by the land planner. Stuart. I'll let Jeff speak to this a little more.
Thanks. So we went through the application. I didn't notice anything outside the ordinary according to the zoning bylaw. It's meeting all the requirements. I guess something I should have mentioned during the public hearing, just for information, like the building is 60 by 32, so that's 1,900 square feet. The developer is looking to do 2 units on 2 levels and 3 units on one of the levels. Right now it's a 2-story building, or just a basement and a main level. He's looking to add a 2nd story because it has such high ceilings given that it's a church. So the units would be approximately 960 square feet where there's 2 units on a level, and where there's 3 units on the one level, it'd be 640 square feet approximately would be the size of them. The developer also indicated that that's the maximum he's willing to go. Once he actually has professional plans done, there might be less units than that, given just with the feasibility of the building if it can't be done. Parking is still meeting all the requirements. The surrounding uses, yeah, there's a lot of residential, there's the care home, the gymnastics. There is a good mix of uses in that part of town. The lighting I never looked at. I guess that would be kind of a separate issue to check out lighting in that area of town. All I really,
Is there a requirement for apartment buildings to have a certain amount of lighting or parking?
no, we don't have anything with that.
I've heard everything from 4 to 5 to 7, so the answer is 5, right?
7.
7.
Yeah.
I heard 5 there.
So two units on 2 levels
Oh, 2 years.
and 3 units on 1 level is what the
Those
proposal is.
basement windows big enough then?
It'll take a lot of renovating.
Yeah, to get that going, right? All
They're
right.
not gonna get past it.
Yeah, that's true. Could we make it,
Put 15 in there, but nobody.
part of the acceptance to improve the lighting in the back? A lot easier for them to improve lighting than for us to improve street lighting. Just to make sure they have ample lighting or reasonable amount of lighting in both the parking lots.
I believe that's something. I think that is something we can require, that parking spaces be lit.
Yeah, just, even if he puts lights on the building and they're bigger lights that flood the area. He's gonna flood generation, he's gonna flood the Walleye Park, so it's not like he's gonna get a neighbor too directly over. He's actually have them increase the lighting in that area, which isn't gonna be bad.
I guess in the same breath, if you're living in that particular street, like glaring away, I guess you close your blinds.
Make sure they're not flashing.
Yeah.
Just, bigger lights that are on there.
I
Yeah,
get
if my neighbor floods his backyard, it's a little bit annoying, but it's not shining in my yard, so.
Right.
it's right to do so.
Yeah, I think just something else that definitely would be worth considering in the area. And maybe that would in turn help out some of the transient issues that Pat said she's having as well. Just require it.
Is there lighting at the Walleye Park?
No, we don't have that. I think that back alley is really dark and a lot of traffic, because I did hear from a few residents. And that seems to be more of the concern than the units themselves, is the traffic would increase from what it already is, because there is the 2 parks or the ball diamonds there, and there's all that green space, there's the river inn, and there's no lighting there, so it does seem to be a very heavy traffic area. So I think providing some lighting might not be a bad thing, if we have the ability to do that right now.
Or a proponent to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just put a light on the back of the house, not hard.
Right.
Unit.
Yeah, and maybe just, keep in mind, we're only approving the discretionary use side.
Yeah.
When it comes time to the development side, that's where Jeff can.
Well, this would form part of that. We could require that the use have lighting in the parking areas.
Would we do that now though, or would we do that later
Well,
on?
there isn't a bylaw for the lighting, so
I'm
you'd
just
almost
seeing-
have to do it now, I would think.
I'm just seeing if there's anything in the zoning bylaw regarding lighting and parking. Wasn't something that I considered.
Just looking at the map, we only have 3 streetlights in that 2 block area. And on 9th, there's 7.
Is there infrastructure in the ground to add any?
Oh, I'm sure.
How does that work?
Well, I looked into it in a location last year, it's about 15,000 per pole to put in. 15.
Oh,
Yeah, 15 to 20.
This is power increase on the line.
No.
That'd be too easy.
Is that a quote from Tescom?
Yeah. Yeah.
For 1 pole?
Yeah, 1 pole.
Something to maybe put.
Well, there's a few streets. Yeah, we could find the dark areas and maybe come up with a plan to, pick off one or 2 of the year.
I think the best thing to do would be move away from those LED lights.
Yeah.
I've said that for 2 years now. I know it's not as easy
Move away
as it
from
sounds. The LED lights, a lot of the lights we currently have, they're really good at projecting down. They're not very good at projecting out.
And they're good at saving power too. Cost.
So right now, it costs us 125,000 a year. That's what's
Doesn't
budgeted.
matter whether it's LED or,
That's what we're budgeted for a year. That's what I have budgeted in our streetlights.
I made note of that. I'll go look at that.
Okay.
But having the
But I think
proponent,
Councilor Stewart is coming to in case he wants to put those
a condition that the proponent lights up the space, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be a separate post up there, that would be expensive, right? But even if he's getting lights going off the building, it's not a bad thing. Light over my neighbor's garage, I could easily light up that area.
you can put in whole light.
So in the zoning bylaw, it does say, in situations where lighting of off-street parking and loading facilities is to be provided, the lighting shall be arranged, installed, and maintained to deflect shade and focus light away from any adjacent land use or intended to be used for residential purpose. So we can require that the off-street parking be lit. So
we don't have to add it today.
no, today would be
Yeah.
that would be on the condition. It would be added to the resolution that on the condition that the off-street parking spaces are illuminated or provided lighting.
How we want to word that? On the condition.
It almost says that the LED lights, you can get flood and you can get direct.
I think they're using old lights up with LEDs, right? The fact that they're designed to shine down, right? They're not
Not the
designed to
flood.
shine up.
Yeah.
There's a light on the front of my garage
Going this way.
Ooh, that's a nasty question.
Not sure how she wants to answer that.
At first, but no, got used to it.
She didn't get her slingshot out.
Well, my neighbor used to point it right to our backyard, now he's got it pointed to his backyard, like, that's okay, that's nice, right? You sit there and just wave to him. That light too bright? No, I can see you perfectly. That's great.
We can watch his yard better. Yeah.
Keep an eye on it here.
Yeah,
it's bright, but I don't have any trouble.
It hasn't been, at first it was a little shocking.
Okay, so I've got the added portion here. So in addition, the applicant to provide sufficient town-approved lighting for the property and off-property parking. How's everybody feel about that?
You're talking about on the street?
For on-property.
He was talking about the alley.
Yeah, I was thinking just the park. I guess, I mean, the light will likely lead into the alley a bit, but it's for the on-site parking, I guess.
So here it's lighting for on-property and off-property parking. Yeah, because off-property parking, that would be street.
Yeah. So then,
Yeah, we don't want them to light up the street.
yeah, just on-site or on-site.
There's that last one. So in addition, the applicant to provide sufficient town-approved lighting for on-property parking.
What do you guys approve?
We should light up Walleye Park too.
I approve that, Shane. You can light up all Walleye Park. So heck of a floodlight. Spot around.
I'm just not used to it.
Yeah, we're definitely not.
We'll be wishing for this heat in the middle of December.
Yep.
Stop it.
Usually.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just read through the whole resolution one more time. That council hereby approves the discretionary use application 26-06 for a multi-unit dwelling on lot 2-3, block 22, plan CP 3638, as recommended by the land planner. In addition, the applicant will to provide sufficient town-approved lighting for on-property parking. Okay, you're still good with that, Jeff?
You bet.
Any other questions or comments? Got her? All, oh,
Just a comment, I think as far as the 5 or 6 or 7, I think the architectural engineering will determine that. I don't think we need to worry about that.
As long as it fits within our bylaw. They have to be a certain size. Well, they don't.
Not for apartment
Not
buildings.
for apartment. But yeah, you're right, 100%.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? All right, that's carried. That council hereby approves the discretionary use application 26-07 for a secondary suite on lot 5, block 23, plan 101-613-024, as recommended by the land planner. And I will turn it over to Jeff one more time.
Thanks. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It's a single detached dwelling. The home in total has 1,440 square feet. The upstairs portion is what would be converted into, or be made into a secondary suite if approved. If not, it would just be a bonus room. They're meeting all the zoning requirements, so yeah, don't have any issues with it. It's a pretty standard one.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or comments? This one is pretty straightforward. Okay, all those in favor? It's carried.
I felt a breeze for half a second.
Jamie, did you magic over there?
That council hereby does not authorize an alley easement adjacent to Lot A, Block 3, Plan CL 4120, as recommended by the land planner. And Jeff or Derek? Jeff?
Yep, again. Thank you. Yeah, so we were approached by the applicant to see if we would enter into an alley easement agreement for the purpose of kind of renovating the building and adding a landing and a ramp to access the building. So right now, the entryway into the building has a slope of about 2.3 to 12, and a ramp is supposed to be 1 in 12. So it is a bit steep. I went and checked out the property when I was there with my cane. I did find it a little steeper than normal, but I was able to do it. The landing that they're proposing would meet the requirements of a 1 in 12 ramp, which would make the building barrier-free and accessible. With that, if it were approved, they would have to make the rest of the building barrier-free. So that would mean like there would have to be a button on the door to open. The bathrooms would have to be barrier-free. All the building classification kind of changes as soon as you have it with a barrier-free entrance. So there would be additional work involved. Some of the concerns that we have with the ramp are just the narrowing of the alley. In the picture, you can see that there's already a power pole in the SaskTel box. The ramp would stick out another about 2 feet from that. You can see that it's still in the grass section, but then come winter, piling snow and those kind of activities. And then given that the entryway point to the ramp would be further down the building, the alleyway would have to be maintained in such a way that it's actually accessible to people in wheelchairs or scooters or with mobility issues. Like right now, our alleys are not bad, but you know, they can get potholey at times and things like that. And I don't know if we're prepared to take on that additional maintenance or if that was something that we would require the building owner to do. It just kind of depends. Overall, I guess my recommendation is to not allow it, just given that The only time I've seen easements for alleys is with like historic buildings, where you're really trying to preserve like the architecture of a certain building and the front facade. Otherwise, it's kind of up to the building owner to make their building accessible within their own footprint, from what I've seen in other communities. But if council did want to enter into one, it's something we can do.
Yeah, I think there's also some heavy traffic in this alley. That's a real safety concern for people with mobility issues, with trucks there. I think it's a furniture business near here, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So I just worry about the mix of very heavy traffic with people with mobility issues in this alley. Safety is a real issue. Not just the issue of maintenance and, the crowding and narrowing of the alley, but it's the safety issue that goes with that.
I'll just.
The safety piece was the same thing I was gonna add.
Perfect. And less.
So I look at this, the wheelchair would have to approach from basically the center of the building there, and then right up towards the street, correct?
Yeah,
So essentially, you're gonna need to build a sidewalk down halfway down the center of that building.
Or maintain that roadway to an emergency standard level, basically.
Well, you got trucks and stuff coming on.
Yeah. And that, in the summer, it's that, in the winter, it's the snow, the ice. Go ahead, Stacy.
You could write that into an agreement about keeping that back alley clear, and if it's mostly wheelchair accessible, that's what they're going for. They're gonna have a handy man pull up and drop them off. I don't know. I think if we implemented a few things that the building owner had to take care of themselves, it would probably still work okay myself, but.
Hand on this side, yeah.
Yeah, those alleys are used as basically streets. Like that across the mall, a lot of traffic on the alley. It's not your regular alley. And access for wheelchairs, I know, I have a lot of experience in that. And yeah, some people would park, like they have vans and everything, they'd have to park basically angle parking, drop the wheelchair off and wheel them up the back alley. Right? There would be some where you're dropping them with a handy van right then, but then they would be blocking access to that back alley, which is not a parking spot. So I don't think that should affect your use. I don't see how. I would look to the back of the building to try to provide access, to be honest, more.
Yeah, I think so. Or do they own the other side? Where the tree is?
Yeah, so the other kind of issues with this building is the building does occupy the entire lot. Like,
This grass area isn't theirs either.
no.
But they do have that back.
No, I meant on the, where the suggested.
Oh,
And even the back, like the back of the building is right on the property line.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's basically the river and allows them to park there. Yeah. And I guess the other thing I could mention, this is the same building that they were proposing, like a ramp on the main sidewalk. That was also, we couldn't come to a design that worked for both parties, so this was their other option. Yes, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the building, when it was made, it was just not made to be an accessible building.
They're going to be modifying that entrance anyways. Right now, I think they're planning to put a new entrance, right?
Right.
The current entrance is in roughly the middle of the building, front.
Yes.
According to this drawing, the entrance is going to be more to the end of the building, close to where they're looking at that new ramp.
Yes.
So if they're already modifying the entrance anyways, isn't it the time to modify for the ramp in the front? You know, I mean, is there enough? I guess everything, just take more of their building, right?
And that's the concern, is that they're losing building space.
I know.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
gain it where the door is now.
That's right, that will be closed where the door is now. Because it looks to me that they're building this whole new entrance. So is it not the time to re-engineer the entrance? Jane, I think you had a comment on this?
Yeah,
From the
you could
access
make
to
it,
the road perspective?
you could make it fit, like, just looking at it, you could make it fit where the stairs is in the front, if you could just get rid of that little table where the fish tank is, and continue with a ramp there, right in the building, with an entrance.
I don't know, what is the current ramp?
It's 12 feet long, so that means they've got about a 1 foot rise
Yeah.
overall.
And then you could include our sidewalk as the landing piece to it, right? So it would come to there, and 12 feet over that is actually right to the spec.
I think
If
if council is not interested in this proposal, there's not many options. Back is not their property. Neither side's their property.
Unless they can buy some of it.
Yeah,
I did mention that as an option, like to approach the other business, because that is a green space right there. And they told me that they weren't interested in selling anything.
Understand the need for it.
but I mean, the need is there. But if we could find a way from the front.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
there's a liability component to this too, if somebody backs into somebody that's on that wheelchair ramp. Where does that fall?
It's on our land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we have to refer back to the easement agreement they're requesting from us, or we would basically, they would have to hold us from us and that sort of stuff. But we're proposing we don't even go to that stage. But that can be contracted, that kind of liability contracted. That doesn't make it safer. Just means we have a good lawyer. But it doesn't mean it's safer.
Looks like you have the whole front of the building.
In the winter time, once you put all the bins out, that alleyway is very, very narrow, as it is, very narrow.
It's a little bit deceiving where they're showing putting the ramp on the side of the building, because it's just a flat parking stall for the business across the alley. So it makes the alley look like, well, you got all this room. But yeah, I agree.
Take a look at the garbage, like the,
Yeah, when you look at where the garbage cans are.
yeah,
And there's no activity at the bank right now, so if the bank opened up and there's traffic coming and going out of the bank, the only way to get out of the bank is to back out.
It reminds me of that Moldberg, right, right at Moldberg, you know, where the, you guys, and you're right by the building, you're driving down that back alley, that's kind of what that is. Right there. It's right on the property line, goes right to it.
Make her out of good concrete, make her so they don't move.
Yeah, building's coming. Sorry.
Are there any other questions or comments? I know it's a tough one. We all want to try to help make any of our businesses more accessible for the people. I'm just not sure that the easement is the safest way to go.
The only other thing when you're doing street planning is to increase the size of the sidewalks. And you would make a ramp that goes up and then it'll level out to the stores. I saw that in Rocky Mountain House, they did a lot of that. That was, do we need streets this wide? I don't know. Not according to what I saw in Ireland.
It's the opposite.
Water lanes down the street.
Yeah.
I'd love to go down and see traffic downtown.
It's been a large discussion at the table, for sure.
and you would make it more walkable, and
Yeah.
then you would have more use for it. That's the only
I heard
other
there'd be room for
solution,
trees.
and that can help many businesses.
Yeah, a lot of our businesses were built back when accessibility wasn't really a,
Yeah, everybody could walk.
Horse and buggy, you know, the buggy could go on an angle, it's not taking, I heard they parked in the middle actually, so, and then they walked over.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay, well,
I can't speak to it myself.
Yeah, not that one. Didn't wanna look over there.
I know we've talked about this one for a while. Is there any other thoughts leading us to a decision?
Could I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
I'd just like to go back to the town planner about, this came before council with regards to the ramp on the front. Is there anything different now we're seeing that could lead us to a different position on this from the front? Versus what was presented before where
yeah.
council turned it down? I'm trying to understand, can you see an option here? That you didn't see before?
Derek had kind of mentioned if the ramp was inside the building, that the sidewalk could be the landing, but that's, I don't know, I guess still using a bit more of their building. The only other option I could see, which I think was discussed last time, but I'll bring it up again, was having like the whole sidewalk come up and down again. But then I guess it would be the expense to pay for that. And if that still works for snow removal.
The snow removal
If
part.
that
I know
still
is a
works
big
for
part
snow
of it,
removal.
when it came to
Could
sidewalk.
that be shared? Could that cost be shared?
Well,
I would think if you want the ramp
It'd be the whole width of the sidewalk to make it go up
6
and
feet,
create a landing.
6 feet wide.
so just.
So you need a handrail.
That's,
I'm
yeah,
actually thinking that
that's
if
quite
they're
a thing.
close with that, they would jump over.
well, yeah, that's the other thing, if you make the sidewalks wider, and if you start putting bump outs
Yeah.
out onto the street, you can do that with the pavement too. I saw a lot of them that go like this, and it's part of the sidewalk. So then it's a nice gradual.
Well, that's what I had envisioned.
Would that still have to maintain that 112? You just, I'm going based on what you did with your hand, which I know isn't accurate. But like,
Oh, sure, what's it?
because you'd still have to maintain that
You
112.
would have to include that, yes. But you would want to do that for other businesses. I think we had the same issue, Bank of Montreal wanted to do that.
Yeah, there were a few businesses that were.
Wanted to do a ramp on the sidewalk, so we've got a few that are probably in that situation.
The ramp takes over about 40 to 50% of the existing sidewalk if you put it on there.
Yes.
So you do that,
You
but
have
it's
to-
at their cost.
Yeah, but then we're missing half our sidewalk.
You also have people who are walking, and I'm gonna think about myself. Oh, I'm going flat, all of a sudden, I'm down.
Yeah, you get that step.
So
that
it
movement
has
up
to
or
be
down.
a nice gradual situation where you're not gonna fall right away.
Right.
Yeah. So that needs a lot of planning.
I honestly don't think the back out is the answer. I think the front of the building is the answer. Right? Reconfiguring this so they can actually get the ramp part in their building. And you're right, use the buses, the landing part, which is fine, still access.
I agree, the front is safer.
Front's way
Oh,
safer.
absolutely, it's way
Yeah.
safer.
If you make that a handicap parking spot.
Oh.
Is there a handicap parking near that?
No.
Or no parking, then you've got space in on the sidewalk. Right there. Handicap is onto the side, no parking, right directly in front of the ramp area.
Instead of no parking, you get loaded.
5 minutes. That's another option.
That would also help with the handyman.
Oh, absolutely.
Always have a space.
So I think as it's written, that we do not authorize the current design. If there's no other questions or comments or thoughts, and then we can take it back to them, and we've had some good discussions here about maybe some different ideas and how that might work that can be discussed with them. sound good?
Yeah, I don't mind, Your Worship, I'd like to, if you don't mind, have town planner try to work with them to find a solution, and bring back another solution to council as soon as possible, because we do want to encourage this in our community. Accessibility is so important. This is a building built in a different generation. We just need to find a solution, whether it's in their building or some creative way on expanded sidewalk with some cost sharing or something. So I think it's, not sure how you want to word that in your going forward sort of direction of administration, but I'd be supportive of that.
Okay. Do we want to modify the resolution to include that administration moves forward with that, or do we just assume that administration?
Perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think, okay,
Perfectly fine.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read the resolution one last time. That council hereby does not authorize an alley easement adjacent to Lot A, Block 3, Plan CL 4120 as recommended by the land planner. That was moved by Councillor Watts. All those in favor? That's carried. Nope. That council hereby authorizes administration to include an accessible parking space in front of the Nipawin Dental Clinic as part of downtown improvements when upgrading parking, and that council will consider the item for 2026 or 2027, depending on other responsibilities, and that administration amend the traffic bylaw to include the accessible parking space. And Jeff, one more time.
Thanks. So the Nipawin Dental Clinic is requesting an accessible parking stall in front of their office. So we did a study in 2024 when Gavin was here, our summer student. He looked in the downtown and identified how many additional accessible parking stalls we should have. And I think he had 7. And this was actually one of the locations that he had determined that would be good for an accessible parking spot. And not too long ago, Works, they installed a ramp in the sidewalk corner at this location. So that also assists with having this be an accessible parking spot. So given those 2 points, I think we should approve it, and that's kind of where I'm at with it.
It's pretty straightforward to me. Any questions or comments from council?
And they're looking for this just in our upcoming plans. They don't want to do it tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, like
26, 27, so.
I believe that's it.
All we have to do is paint and put up a sign. So it'll be done this year.
So it doesn't, there's no.
Yeah, you can just put it in there just in case.
Doesn't have a budget, really doesn't have a budget.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Okay. That council hereby does not authorize an increase of fence height to 5 feet on lot 13, block 4, plan 99A 09131, and that a 4-foot solid fence be authorized on lot 13, block 4, plan 99PA 09131. Anybody? Yeah.
All right. So there's a few things to consider here. So right now on the property, there's about a 5'6" fence that's been there. We hadn't gone through the enforcement procedure to make them remove it. This is a new owner. The fence is starting to fall down, so he's wanting to build a new fence. out of chain link and with the privacy slats. And so he approached the town and asked, can I, have it 5 feet? So I looked in the zoning bylaw, and of course, on corner lots, it's supposed to be 3 feet if it's solid. It can be 4 feet high if it's transparent. So we considered allowing the 5-foot fence with 45-degree angles for visibility, but then I think that still creates a situation where you're having to come up with some kind of rationale for why does this person get a 5-foot fence when everyone else has had to build them either 3 feet or 4 feet. And so then where we kind of came up with was allowing a 4-foot fence, as there are other solid 4-foot fences on corners, and then changing with the new zoning bylaw to allow a maximum 4-foot fence, and then just that be the cap in the front yard. So, yeah.
If I can add, your worship, I think you put in a good job of maintaining at 4 feet, right?
Yeah.
Anything above that, probably going to be faced with a lot of inconsistency. Nothing's been changed in years. So I think 4 is really the max. And we're talking solid fence, and that's not even in current bylaw.
Right.
But you're proposing, as we're amending the zoning bylaw now, to actually make that change, that 4-foot solid would be acceptable even on a corner lot.
Right.
Where visibility is, so you're not suggesting 45-degree angle here.
No.
Just want everybody to.
But still 3 feet in front.
That would be 4 feet in the front. So that's
Okay,
what this
and
is.
then
Yeah.
Yeah, less waste because coming 8-foot lines.
Or cut a 12-footer.
Good point.
Three
I didn't think of that.
tons. Yeah.
That's a good point.
But they also have to have a setback, correct, from the corners like they do here on the front lot. They can't put it right up against the road. It's gotta be back.
Right, yes, so like it would be on the property line. So and on corner lots, we are fortunate that we do have decently large boulevards. Like our road allowance is 66 feet. The road is generally 32 feet. So then you got an extra 10 to 14 feet on either side of the road. So like you can see in this picture where that sidewalk is and where the current fence is, that's actually the property line. So that location wouldn't change. It would just be the height.
And just out of curiosity, his current fence is 5'6".
Yeah.
What if he decides he doesn't like us moving it to 4 feet? He decides to rebuild that fence at 5'6".
Then we would probably start with bylaw enforcement, I guess.
What if you just leave it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it could, if it starts falling down, maybe there's no trees.
Yeah. Then bylaw has a different thing to look at. No, I think a 4-foot fence is a nice compromise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the other issue we had too is if you were to approve 5-foot fences, like even say just down the highway, then you could run into a situation where you have a bunch of 5-foot fences coming into town and it just looks like you're shutting everybody out and also not the most pleasing thing to look at. No. Yeah.
Fortified up for something.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? That council hereby accepts the offer to purchase for the municipally owned property legally described as Lot 27, Block 42, Plan 96PA00667, located on Peters Drive in the amount of $16,000, subject to the conditions outlined with the offer to purchase, including approval and completion of the proposed lot consolidation process and administration's conditions of acceptance, and that administration be authorized to finalize the sale agreement and complete all the required documentation related to the transfer of the property as recommended by the GM of Community Services. Watts. And Derek.
So for this one, it's right in where all the drainage concerns were last week. It's on the lowest level lot. He wants to build his garage near the east or west side of the lot nearest to his existing house, with the driveway would still be in the same spot as everybody else's. It would drive in. It's far away from the low level spots. I met with him on site. He's aware of the drainage, he's aware of the wetness, he's aware of the drainage issues that are being repaired in the near future. He still would like to purchase the land at the asking price, which is fair to what was in the past. Again, it would all be written in the purchasing agreement, the conditions, the acknowledgement of the drainage, the easements that may be required with, if it was 1 foot off by sight lines, it's not even close to the current property lines. There's tons of room for the drainage that's to be put in place, but he did agree to sign off on easements if we needed to do it to create the land or to create the drainage to make it work. So he's very aware, and I think it's a good option because I don't think right now we're in a place to be able to sell this to somebody to build their house at a similar price with the drainage concerns that are happening in the area.
Thank you, Derek. Any questions? Les?
So just to clarify, he owns 117 6th Street East?
Yeah, the one on the main.
So he wants to build a garage on the
behind, yeah, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
There's no lot consolidation, no? Said the lots behind the.
He's asking for a lot consolidation with the garage because his lot's attached. There's just a fence between it right now.
Oh, I see.
So he would remove the fence. Yeah, there's no alley there. It's just a, what do you call it? Shadow alley type thing. Just services running between the lots.
Back there, right, and across from the one in the house there.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add, zoning wise, we'd have to just pay attention to the site now having double frontage. So the garage would have to meet the same kind of a setback as the houses there, just so council's aware, the garage couldn't be like 10 feet off the front property line or something. Just so then it will keep the same kind of style, aesthetics, thanks Paul, as what the houses are currently there.
Any other questions then? All right, now I'll ask. All those in favor? That's carried. That council authorizes administration to enter into a direct payment agreement for the sale of Lot 3, Block 27, Plan BB 2484 at the purchase price of $19,224 plus any unforeseen legal, transfer, or associated costs, with a finalized agreement and payment terms to return to council for approval, and that title transfer shall not occur until the purchase price and all associated costs have been paid in full. Councilor Stewart. And Darren, can you speak to this one?
Yes. So there's no report because I didn't get it in time to get it through, and we still wanted to get it get it to council to be able to see it. Mr. Kearney, the owner of the preschool that's there, he had reached out in October to find out what it would take to purchase the lot next door. He was advised to contact the realtor and must have talked to Yuri, and they came up with his approach that he sent with the multiple options and looking for sponsorship or whatever. My thoughts would be, and where it comes from is the town could take on or sell him the lot, maintain title till he pays, give him a lenient payment agreement where he's not strapped for cash. It's not a subsidy then, you're still developing the lot. We keep title till it's paid in full. He gets use of the lot, it develops it's preschool. Some background on the lot, we got it in tax enforcement in 2012. There's been minimal to no interest since that time. So I think if there's any agreement that we can work out, it's a good idea. What we would be losing in dollars and cents for interest would be recouped in the cost that it cost the staff to cut the grass and whippersnip and do all the stuff on the main drag that he would now be doing.
Any questions or comments?
What was the number that you said? Because it's not on here. That you said that you thought the sale price should be for?
$19,224 was the asking price on the lot. So the agreement would come back to council once it was determined if it was something that interested him, everything else. So this is just basically asking for the approval to carry forward with an idea to reach out to Mr. Kearney.
Okay.
It would be nice to see use of another empty lot on our main drag down.
And I do feel like historically, didn't the town kind of do some help towards the other daycares that have been built, whether it was in some kind of financial help, was there not help from the town with the new daycare in some way?
We did give a reduced price on the lot on what our asking price was for a lot on top of the hill. So this would be a similar type thing, trying to alleviate concerns on the youth without cornering ourselves into being part of an ownership group or anything like that.
Yeah, that's the one I thought.
I just thought I remembered something that came up about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What are they planning to put on this piece of property? Just playground area?
Just a playground structure, is just a play area for the kids. And that's because if he can't expand based on parking and staffing, and there's many other reasons within the rules of daycares.
We can provide some extra outdoor space, that's just more fresh air for the kids.
If I could just re-highlight the issue of when ownership is here. It's only after it is paid. So that also make sure that we're not transferring when for some reason the business closed in a year and they have a property, it's only half paid, right? So we will maintain ownership but they will then start right away with putting in their structures, but also looking after the maintenance. That'll all be in the agreement you'll see next council. This direction is something that you're interested in. So we're helping, but it's also, we have to protect the public assets.
And does it set precedents for others?
I'm not sure. We have some precedent of supporting others in indirect ways, and this is sort of, as mentioned by the GM,
Well, it's sort of like the ownership. They don't have to pay for the lot until they finish building it, own it. Isn't that in the same criteria? Wasn't there some incentive for developers? Am I dreaming?
I think that was a previous incentive,
Years
one of
ago.
the ones that we,
One of the ones that were
one of the ones that were taken back when we, and
Well, I was thinking this recently.
Yeah, where they can get money for when they get to 60% of the development.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So this
that's if they,
kind of falls in.
that's if
that
they
same
bought the
line.
lot and then
Close
they
to
were building
in-state.
on it.
Close to in-state.
close to in-state, yes.
Might be
Yeah.
almost 60%.
Taxable stage.
In other words, your worship, is the only way that we can consider, without setting a big precedent, that this is sort of the only thing we're kind of could come up with as far as helping without really setting a big precedent.
Precedents, we've done all sorts of things to help. We've helped the gymnastics, we've helped the other daycares, we've helped lots of other, especially ones that are community-minded daycares, gymnastics facilities, things like that. Things that improve our overall well-being, especially of children. We have an entire precedent of helping them. You know what? I'm okay with that precedent. So when the solution comes up where we can get kids outside doing more, and we're still protecting the asset.
Let's,
Yeah, I'm with Jeff, but my concern is that if they were to default, we would own the assets or the improvements on that property.
and that's where, yeah, because we're not transferring title until it's fully paid.
As long as that's written, then aware.
Yeah,
It'll be
and
like
there'll be
pre-
terms, there'll be payment arrangements, all of that will come in the contract in the future if we decide to go that way.
So this is a lease to own.
I think it's good because it's not, truthfully, that's not a property I think that's going to be high demand ever. It's not really a spot anybody's gonna build a house. I think this is a really good option. And it also can provide the opportunity that maybe in the future, there could be an expansion on that preschool if they needed to, where right now they don't have the option. So it does open that up because I do think there's a high need for that in this community. We know that just with the new daycare already basically full. So I think this is good that we're basically following with growth and development and providing what we know that our community needs and helping in the ways that we can. So I think it's good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Could you read the motion again? I'm sorry.
Okay, I do have the vote recorded, but I'll read it one more time. That council authorize administration to enter into a direct payment agreement for the sale of Lot 3, Block 27, Plan BV 2484 at a purchase price of $19,224 plus any unforeseen legal, transfer, or associated costs with a finalized agreement and payment terms to return to council for approval. And that title transfer shall not occur until the purchase price and all associated costs have been paid in full. That is carried. That council hereby agrees that Nipawin Veterinary Services be permitted to perform spay and neuter under the town policy, along with Honeywood Veterinarian, as recommended by the GM of Protective Services. Councillor Watts. And Paul, it's your turn.
Just to be clear, you do not want to talk to Derek or Jeff?
They're taking a break.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I won't take up too much time. We were approached by Nipawin Veterinary Services. They have expressed an interest in also joining the spay and neuter program. I don't have a problem with that. I won't lie, it's not like they're beating down the doors for this policy, which is totally fine. So we get another vet to do these services here in town. I guess we did put guardrails in place a few years ago, just to make sure that this program was not being abused. I would just put in the same guardrails where if they are based out of Tisdale, if they were not able to perform any surgeries or something here, if something had to be done in Tisdale, any one of the applicants would know that we would not be paying for travel to Tisdale. So we would only be paying for the procedure. So other than that, that's basically it's all there. I did include for those that are around the table, council that may not have been part when this program was started back in 2016. I did do a little summary on what the program actually entails as well. So.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions or comments for Paul?
I just have one comment that, I believe it's no longer Honeywood in town, so just would probably see updated language there. And then I'm not sure if the new owners of that clinic just are grandfathered into that program, or if anything needs to be done to address that.
So because there was a changeover right when everything's been taking place, we had to rewrite a new contract anyways. So this correspondence came in and actually at the perfect time. So as we're going to be rewriting this, we can fold everything all in together. So actually the timing is actually pretty good. It worked out pretty well.
Do we need to change the wording in this resolution because it does state Honeywood Veterinarian?
Formerly? Timber Ridge, I believe, is the new one. I've just found
If
it.
it's Timber Ridge, you can say Timber Ridge, clinic, brackets, formally. How about that?
Yeah.
Now we got it covered.
Okay, that was Timber Ridge.
I'm just looking it up.
Yeah.
Is it Timber Ridge? Veterinary. And then brackets, formally. And you mentioned, Paul, that we're going to be speaking to them about their interest in, that's their new one.
Okay. Do you need me to reword this or rewrite, I'm not sure if I'll be able to after that.
The other one, we didn't have a motion in front of us.
Yeah. No, understandable. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Now the favorite part, bylaws. That bylaw number 1215/26, being a bylaw to provide for the proper collection and disposal of waste and recycling within the town of Nipawin, be introduced and read a first time. Councillor Stewart. And now we're on to Jamie.
Yes. Okay, so we need to make some changes in our pickup bylaw regarding stationary bins. We have about 20, Paul, about 20 that are in town that people use on a regular basis. The town supplies waste and recycling bins. Paul has expressed how much he doesn't want these bins in people's yard except for the use of renovation, construction, somebody passed away, cleanup purposes, not just to be parked there. So we've come up with this, and that's exactly what this is about. And it also gives us the town some teeth to remove them from premises that are a problem. And that's really what it comes down to. It will not affect commercial at all. Commercial can have bins. It's just property residents that have them sitting in their front yard. Yeah.
And I'll speak further to this. If you recall, council did pass. We did do this previously. What we were going to allow was for three-sided structures to be built. Again, we were trying to make it aesthetically pleasing. So if you had a bin and you wanted to have a bin on your property, as long as you had it completely and totally on your property and built a fence around it, as per there is one up on 3rd Street West. We actually use that as an example, make it look like this. We were fine with that. That was passed, I believe, in September or October of last year. It may have been sooner than that. We didn't enforce it over the winter time, but that was a bylaw on the books. This spring, we went out and that was it. We were bringing down the law and we got a hue and cry, and it was like, this is not a new bylaw. This has been passed. You've had all of this time to build these structures. Those structures were not built. Today was the deadline, so we are actually amending it now. So the three-sided structures, which Nobody approached us to build. Nobody started to build. We were okay. That's now said and gone. This bylaw will now replace that. There will be no three-sided structures other than the one that was previously built that we use as an example. And we are getting rid of the dumpsters completely, which I believe was what council really wanted anyways. We were going to allow it if they could make it aesthetically pleasing. That was never done by any of our rental properties here in town. And again, these are all rental properties.
And just to add to this, it'll be town approval. So if you require a bin for cleanup, you have to get a hold of administration for approval. And then we know exactly where that bin is. And it's a maximum of 90 days it can be on your property. And then at any time that we can remove it.
That'll help with the permitting process.
Yes.
Yes, and again, if you recall, that was one of the reasons, again, we were doing this, so we could get our hands on these people that were supposed to be getting building permits. And we did, the verbiage did read renovations, alterations, and anything. So it didn't matter if you needed a building permit, we needed to know about it. And again, we didn't have any takers on that. So again, we were just enforcing the bylaw. This all came out, and we just reminded them it's actually all here in black and white. So we've now taken it one step further just to get rid of the containers completely.
If there isn't compliance, and like you said, this gives you teeth to remove them, then where's the cost of that then? Obviously, you're gonna have to contact MTN to remove these bins. There is a fee for that. So where's that fee going? Is it going to the property owner? Is it going in a bylaw, like a fine? Is it going on the taxes to the property owner if there's non-compliance?
If there's non-compliance, we tell the hauler, the contractor, to pick up the bin, and then they charge the homeowner. That won't be the town's responsibility.
Okay.
We just tell them to pick it up, and then they do the billing.
Okay.
Just like when somebody ordered it.
Yeah.
That's not the town's.
There, so they
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
do their due diligence, know where it is.
Yep.
Thank you, Ed. Go ahead, Your Worship. I think we've had quite a bit of discussion on this. Through our discussion, I think I haven't personally been talking to MTN, but I think Paul and Jamie have, with regards to what's happening now and the need for them to, A, make sure they're working with us going forward. Anybody that orders a bin, they must instruct them to come here first. And B, the ones that are in these residential, on front of these residential properties now, we're probably gonna be telling them to pick them up and take them back, whether they've been paid or not, because that's not our problem. They put them out, as a business owner, they should have got, if there's an issue, they should have had deposits or whatever. But at the end of the day, we want them gone, and we want the future managed a certain way. And I believe they're already working with us. We're starting to see, I think, Jeff, right, people coming in asking permission to use these bins that we never got before. And we haven't even put this bylaw in force yet. So I think it'll take a little time, and there will be some people not very happy that their large garbage receptacle is in front of their house. Because we do have a rollout bin program. More than one, bylaw provides you can get more than one.
You pay for them?
You pay for it, of course, yes. But I assume they're paying for that 4-yard bucket that sits out there too.
Yeah.
But maybe some don't. I don't know how MTN business works in that regard, but I would assume if they're not getting paid, they take the box away. I would guess, right? That's what most businesses do. So I think it's starting to already work. The future, but the current has to be done with. Because as Paul mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, bylaw went around to all these properties and said, current bylaw says 3-side structure approved by town. And nobody did this, and this is the 2 weeks is up just for today. And nobody has complied. So they're basically saying, sorry.
So they're aware of it.
They know we're working on this issue.
Well, they're aware of it, I heard it in the coffee shop.
And again, all the business business owners were aware of it when this passed as well. We actually went around and told them. We said that we weren't going to be enforcing it right away because we were heading into winter, but they were all made well aware. So there's no excuses on any way, shape, or form. And again, it's sad to say, we all know the majority of these properties are rentals and they are abused. And to Jamie's credit, this is again, we're trying to make it so that we don't fill our landfill unnecessarily. We're trying to limit the amount of waste that's being done at these houses. There's the recycling program is supposed to be utilized. All of these things are supposed to be in play. These are all, we're playing catch up, you know, to the rest of the province. And this is just us, you know, bringing ourselves into the future. So.
If I can reinforce that point, we're trying to also encourage recycling and blue bin use, black bin use, this large, throw everything in the bin thing. Doesn't encourage that sort of activity in the community. We spend a lot of money replacing cells and filling up our landfill unnecessarily. So recycling is an important program. We want people to we want to encourage recycling. These large bins do not do that. That's why we have a rolled out cart program to start with. So for all these reasons, it's not just to penalize 20 properties. It's about the general overall direction of the community, a more positive direction.
Yep, go ahead.
The three-sided enclosure, is that just the residential or is that also the commercial should be doing that?
Completely gone now.
Pardon me?
It's gone now.
No, I
There's no
meant
more.
in the commercial areas where they have
Apartments.
bins, you don't need to have the three.
No, no, it's all, that's completely removed from the bylaw.
It had been just for the residences, Chris?
Oh, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this still stays for multi-residential and condominiums, where they can use a stationary bin.
Yes.
If it, that's what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, we're eliminating the dumpsters on the front lawns,
Yep.
which we all said we didn't want.
Down the block.
But I totally understand when somebody's doing rentals, and then they can have multiple bins if they have like a mix of materials. So stuff like that, but they don't need bins 12 months a year, in my opinion.
Any questions or comments?
Mine was only gonna be around cooperation with M10, but it sounds like that positive.
If they don't work with us, we phone them right away to take the bin away.
Yeah.
Well, it is their bin. Obviously, they're not gonna, I would guess, reasonable people would they're not just gonna leave it there if they're not getting paid either. Right? So at the end of the day, I'm sure they're gonna work with us to deal with the 15 to 20 that are historic issues, right? Going forward, it looks like we're in a better place already. It's just a current stock.
Okay, any other? Okay, all in favor? That's carried.
Thank you for considering 3 readings, Bill. Of the interesting timing here.
Then bylaw number 1215/26, being a bylaw to provide for the proper collection and disposal of waste and recycling within the town of Nipawin, be read a second time. Okay. This is our second reading. Any thoughts? See anything that jumps out at you? Okay, all in favor? Usually what happens, we get it all out in the first one.
Can't wait for this other reading.
Okay. Keep in mind, this next resolution must be passed unanimously to continue. That bylaw number 1215/26 be given 3 readings at this meeting. Public. All those in favor? That is carried unanimously. That bylaw number 1215/26, being a bylaw to provide for the proper collection and disposal of waste and recycling within the town of Nipawin, duly adopted. Counselor Watts. So this is your last opportunity. Give it a quick skim over, think about a few things. Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? That is carried. All right, that concludes the bylaws, and we'll move down to the round table. And today we'll start with Lisa.
Since our last meeting, I attended a museum meeting as well as a special meeting of the Walkby Executive Board that I'm now a member of. The chair of that committee has stepped down, so there were some operational items to discuss. I attended the Nipawin Dog Park in Northeast SBCA Car Bingo fundraiser. That was unique, interesting, and other than that, I feel like my body is broken after planting a bunch of flowers that I got from the Nipawin greenhouse this weekend.
Thank you, Lisa. And Kylie?
I haven't done anything exciting in the last 2 weeks. Just finally enjoying some sun and getting outside and starting to cut some grass, which is exciting. That's it. I haven't done nothing.
Thank you, Kylie. Les?
Yeah, likewise, it's been quiet for me as well.
Thank you, Les.
Me as well, other than my share of uses. I wasn't planting flowers, I was just filling bin or flower beds.
This is hurting that. I forgot that I had.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, I'm gonna build on that.
All right, well, I did have a few meetings. So May 13th was our fire partners meeting where we discussed the 2026 budget. We also talked about the shareable cost for the new pumper tanker truck that will ultimately be coming in the next year. Well, the truck arrival will be a few years. Yes. But the budget side of it will be getting sooner. We also talked about ISC 200 training. And then you may or may not have seen some pictures, but I did try on that turnout gear. And I do want to go back in actually and put it all on with the oxygen tanks to have the full weight of the gear on. It's be interesting. Just didn't have a lot of time, and apparently right after we left, I know you guys were.
Five more minutes if you had stuck around, you would have seen us taking off out the
You might
door.
have actually jumped in.
Yeah, they might have threw me in the truck.
You might have thrown it in the truck.
Who's the new guy?
Yeah, who's that new guy?
Okay,
Bodies.
so May 19th, had a meeting with Staff Sergeant Wyonzik. It was an introductory meeting for David. We had some general discussion around local and regional policing. And we talked about the potential to bring in some equipment to measure some speeding concerns that were brought forward by the public. So just some things that will be coming up over the next weeks and months in the summer. May 20th, I attended the Nipawin Hospital for the emergency room phase 3 grand opening. So they have completed now 3 of 5 phases there, and they're going to continue on that work. This is probably the highlight right here. May 23rd, this past Saturday, I attended Grandma Fran Stevens' 100th birthday celebration. So she married Richard Stanley Stevens after World War II and moved to Nipawin 1 year later. And it was a major change. She came from Tadworth, England, where she was quoted as saying, "We had electricity, gas, flush toilets. When I came here, you couldn't go anywhere." And she did say as well that the trip just never seemed to end. She came across on a boat, rode a train to Regina. She thought she was almost here. Had to get on catch another ride to PA. Thought she was here, and then had to ride from PA to Nipawin. It was quite a trip. So when I asked her her fondest memories over her life here in Nipawin, her answer was instant. It was living with my husband in the home he built for us. She absolutely loves this community. And of note, the celebration was on Saturday, but today was her official 100th birthday. So I'd like us all to take a moment to wish happy birthday to Fran. So, happy birthday, Fran.
Birthday, Fran.
As well, just an interesting fact, I did write a letter for our time capsule as well. And so while researching that, just information on Nipawin, we participated in our very first census exactly 100 years ago. And we had a population of 479 people in that census. In comparison, Tisdale had 846 people, Star City had 622, and Melfort had 1,605. So we were the smallest of those four communities, and we have experienced by far the largest growth in those four communities of almost 1,000% in the last 100 years. So I also want to mention that it has been announced that congratulations is due to Brett Kane and his entire team at North Fringe Industrial Technologies, Inc. Earlier this month, they were named as the 2026 Safe Employer Award winner. So big congratulations to Brett Kane, his team, and all of North Fringe. That's my story.
You got a lot of story.
How do you watch that?
Well, it's my wife's birthday today, so she doesn't get me. But to build on yours, I had to build her a 16-foot by 3.5-foot by 12-foot planter box.
Nice.
That's a lot of.
That's a lot of planter.
That's a lot of planter box. Then I had to hold, you know, what husband's doing, they go flower shopping to hold the thing. And
Oh, I've been
sit with
doing
the things in there and just walk around, right? Other than that, Twin Lakes.
That's our job.
That's an important job. And happy birthday, honey. She's not watching.
Thank you, Jeff. And Joyce.
Well, the only thing I did was I toured around Ireland, and after 28 hours of being awake, I got to get into a car that the steering wheel was on the opposite side, and the first exit was the roundabout going the opposite way. We did make it. Well, day 3, it felt more comfortable, but it was a challenge at the beginning, and they got very narrow roads, so putting maybe some things close to an alley isn't so bad, because there was houses right next to the highway. But everything was lush and green, the canola was blooming, the hay was coming off, and the flowers were there, so yeah, a little different than here.
You're gonna recommend some roundabouts here, right?
Actually, after I got used to them, I did a 2-hour drive, and we took the route with the least amount of roundabouts, and we still hit 16 of them. Well, we didn't hit them. I actually drove around the property.
So was that your first time driving a right-hand drive vehicle?
On the opposite side of the road, yes. All the way around, first time.
Yeah. I used to have a right-hand drive vehicle. It's an interesting experience when you first get
Well,
the wheel.
yeah.
Judging the distance.
Yes,
From the
because
left
that's
side.
right, you're used to,
Over here.
the vehicle didn't get any wider, but
I
it
know.
feels like it.
Yeah.
And there's different varieties of streets, so you've got just the black, it's basically just one way, but you need 2 ways. And then you got the line in the middle, that's a little white. But you still have the hedges and stone walls on the side that you might or might not hit.
It was fun. I saw a few of the pictures you posted as well. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was fun. And I'm heavy enough not to fall down in the wind.
All right, well, that wraps everything up then. That the regular council meeting of May 25th, 2026 be closed with Mayor Zacharias in the chair pursuant to section 122A of the Municipalities Act and citing exemptions contained in the Local Authority Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act under section 16, advice from officials,